In today's video, I'll be showing you how to create and mix your very own rock idea from scratch. That sounds like this. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. As you saw in the intro, we'll be going through this little rock idea that I made. And I'll show you how I sort of composed it, produced it, mixed it, go through a little bit of mastering as well. So sort of a really kind of like bottom to top, sort of a little analysis and review of this. And hopefully there's a couple of things in this video that you guys can take away that'll help you sort of get stuck into writing your music a little bit quicker. I think we'll just basically start from the beginning and go through. There's a little kind of intro section. There's a sort of quote unquote drop section. A little verse section, then goes back into a chorusy kind of thing. This is just an instrumental for now. Maybe I'll work on it a little bit more later. Let's start at the beginning. Let's have a look and see what's sort of going on here. You know, this is sort of into that alternative rock kind of direction. So let's see what's going on in the beginning here. Let's have a look. Okay. So what's going on here? So basically what I've got here is the two guitars, and I'll go into, the guitar tone in a second. Two guitars, the first one's panned left, and then the other one all the way right. And what I'm doing here is on the guitar bus, I've got a, let's just have a look, a little EQ filtering everything out. Okay, so I actually turn the EQ off here when all the instruments come back in. So I turn the EQ off and we get that full sound. So basically just filtering it a little bit to cut out the high and low frequencies here, since we're just sort of introducing the idea. And then I came up with this little synth lead. It's coming from Serum. Let's just have a look here. It's a little preset from Seven Skies here. It's a lead called Broken 8. And yeah, basically just programmed in a little lead here, a little hook to go over the guitars. I'm also, I believe, doing a little bit of EQ filtering here. Let's just have a look. Yeah, I am, and I'm taking it off over here. I'm like undoing the bypass, lifting the bypass off here when it hits into the main section. And obviously, we want to make sure that this contrasts as much as possible from filtering things out in the beginning, so that when, all the instruments come in, it really just like slaps you.
Oh my darling, are you having another nightmare?
Okay. And also just a little bit of volume automation here at the end with this lead, just to bring it down in the gap. Let's just have a look here. So it's literally, I'm just automating the volume on a little gain plugin here in Cubase. And you can hear that when it stops, it just, decreases the volume here just to give it a little bit more space. And obviously when all the instruments come in, that there's no more filter and it's at full volume and all of that. So that's pretty much the intro. Let's have a look at the guitars. What's going on with the guitars in terms of tone? What I'll do is I'm actually just going to go to the where the guitars don't have the filter on, so you guys can hear it sort of a little bit better. Okay. So these are the guitars by themselves. Cool. So again, panned left and right, double tracked. What have we got going on here? So it's amplitude, of course, and I'm really just enjoying this this orange amp. And what I did here is I actually added another little cabinet here, which is running it in parallel, the Engel. So it's just blending the two cabinets together. And I thought it just added a little flavor, which was a little bit different than just having the one cab. So that's it for the guitars. Oh, and then I've just got a little tube screamer on here. Okay, and it's the orange head here with just a little bit of I think it's just a little bit of gain here. Just a little bit of gain on the tube screamer and a little additional cab. Okay, so that's it for the guitars, and it's going into a guitar bus here. What have we got on the bus? So again, I go into this in detail, and other videos. I don't mind going through it again. We've got some dynamic EQ. So as you know, the most important thing with electric guitars is just filtering out those whistle frequencies between like 3 and 4K. So we had like 2.3K here, 3.3K, and there's a little bit of dynamic EQ going on here in the low end and in the low mids. Okay, so this band here is for when there's palm muting, and we're going to get to the palm mutes in a second. When you palm mute on a guitar, it significantly raises up the lower end. So when we get to that part, I'll show you that this dynamic EQ is just taming those palm mutes. And then again, just a little bit of mid-range cleanup here with some dynamic EQ. Let's just see this in action. I'm going to take these little bands off so you can hear, those whistle frequencies that can be very sort of annoying. So this is with them on. So that's just really cleaning things up. And that's going to allow us to actually brighten up the guitars afterwards with an SSL, and I'm just brightening them back up overall at about 10K here, and we've got about 8.3 dBs. They're just bringing the brightness back up. This is with it off and on. So we're getting those whistle frequencies out the way and then just bringing up the overall tone afterwards. Okay, what am I doing here? Again, just another tiny little boost. I felt like it just needed a little bit more presence in the highs here. So that is it with the guitars. Let's listen to the transition from the intro into like sort of the main chorusy little bit here. Cool. So a couple of little transition effects here. I rendered out a cymbal, and I'll go through the drums in a second. It's just I rendered them out and then reversed them from the drum kit. This helps create that, that sense of kind of like urgency into the big hits. And then there's a little bit of drums here. I think there's kicks and snares. So 2 little kicks and 2 snares, and then we've got these toms, da-da-dum-dum. And that's to introduce the main chorus, okay? So that's what we've got going on here in the transition to introduce the main theme, the main chorus. Let's talk about the drums a little bit here. So I'm using Get Good Drums, again, just like, I think it's pretty much my favorite drum library company. They're just absolutely incredible. And in the Get Good Drums, I'm using the new metal kit. Very, very nice. I don't think I made many changes. Hey, I think it's just straight out the box, and the preset is Room Go Boom. Okay, so it's literally just that preset. I haven't done a multi-out. It's literally just a stereo. I've got a one knob on here from Waves. Just beefing up the low end a little bit. What are we doing on the equalization? Let's have a look at this in action. Okay, so just boosting up some lows there. You've seen me do this trick 100 times. It's like just to separate the snare fundamental and the kick. just to clean it up. It just really does clean up that low mid, so we don't have those sort of honky frequencies. Again, a little bit of dip here at 445, and I'm using this in spectral mode because I felt like the cymbals at times were just poking through a little bit too much. I don't want to turn them down. I just wanted to turn them down, you know, in the high end when they became a little bit too pokey, and that's what the spectral EQ on the top end of this EQ is doing. So it's just when resonances sort of build up, you just want to take it down, and yeah, Pro Q4 with the spectral is just chef's kiss for this. That's pretty much the drums. In terms of programming, I'm not a drummer, but I programmed these myself. Again, it's a very simple pattern. We've got 2 crashes here on the downbeats with the kick, and there's a kick and snare pattern, and then just a crash on the 4. And that's it. You can tell I'm not a drummer because, yeah, there's nothing fancy going on there. Okay, let's go through some bass guitar. What have we got here? Let's have a look at what we're using for the bass. Okay, so we've got our old friend Omnisphere here with the Memphis Soul guitar. I think this is the closest thing to sounding like a sort of like a alternative rock guitar. I know there are great libraries out there. I just stumbled upon this, and this felt really, really good. I'll definitely look into some other libraries at a later stage, but this sounds really good. And following the root notes. So, you know, following the root notes of the chord progression. What have we got on the mix here? A bit of OTT, just to give it a little bit of a squash. Some Black Valve, just driving it a little bit to give it some, you know, some of that grit. EQ, I think we're just scooping out, some lower mids. And I think this is a dynamic cue at the top here. Let's just see what that's doing. Yeah, so just taming that pick attack at the top there, without losing, you know, the brightness of the actual bass. So just taming that pick there so it's not so harsh in the top end. And then we've got, I need to just unsolo the drums here. We've got some sidechain on the bass, and that is coming from kick 2. Of course, I've got it in MIDI mode. It's a very fast envelope. And in the MIDI setup, I've got it set to note C0. So it's only going to listen to note C0 from the drums here, which is the kick. We don't want the bass sidechain to be triggered by the snare or the cymbals, or it would sound like a mess. So we're ducking the bass out of the way just for that split second so the kick transient can come through and just give it as much punch as possible. This is just drums and bass. So I think when you solo the bass out, it's more audible, but in the mix, you can't really hear the effect, but you can feel it. You know, you really get that transient of the kick to come through, and I think that's really important. Okay, and of course we've got the main lead sound here that we take off the filters and all of that. That carries on here. That's really like the main theme. What else I've got coming in here on the big kind of chorus drop? What else have I got? This is... I wanted something cinematic. I think this is coming from Berlin Free Orchestra. It's free, guys. Just download it, and it's the spiccato from the string ensemble. So I wanted something organic in there just to sort of contrast with the electronicness of the Serum synth. This is them together. Yeah, it's just giving it some space and introducing a little bit of more of an organic feel. And then I have an Omnisphere. I think this is a little choir, just singing one sustained note. Let's see what I used here. So Boys Choir Ooze from Omnisphere, just singing the root note at the top. Okay, a little bit of OTT on there just to bring out the highs, and a little bit of filtering there. on the main lead here, let's just go through the plugins. A little bit of reverb there, a little bit of OTT, give it a squash, little bit of filtering, and that is pretty much it. Okay. Then lastly, we've got some sort of chordal modulated kind of stuff here. Let's listen to how this sounds. It's the Olympus Choir from Halion Sonic, so a Steinberg product. And I've got some OTT on here, squashing it a little bit, bring out the highs, and a little bit of filtering again. And with all of these synth sounds here, with the lead and the choirs and all of that, sounds like this. So all of those atmospheric elements in the background, just there to support the track and give it more of a cinematic feel. So that goes on for a couple of bars, and then the second part of the big chorus theme, we go up an octave on the main synth melody. It really just gives it a lift and doesn't make it as repetitive. I have done a little bit of volume automation here because when we go into the higher octave, it did get a little bit loud, so I just wanted to tame that down a little bit with some volume automation. So let's listen to the little transition from the first part with the lower octave of the synth lead going into the higher part. Okay, so just giving it a little bit of a lift there. And now we go into what I'm calling the verse, where, this is something we definitely need to, write vocals for and put vocals into. What we've got here is a different drum pattern. I believe we're doing hi-hats here. Yep. So very straightforward kind of, 4 on the hi-hat with some kick and snare. And on the guitars, this is where I changed things up a little bit and wrote what I think is actually really, really works. Quite a nice little lick here. Picking style, as you would have seen in the intro. As you saw in those open chords in the beginning, I wanted to just change it up a little bit to give it some variance. And that's what these palm muted guitars sound like by themselves. All right, I think that works well in the verse. I'm not a perfect guitar player. This was played by a human for human music.
Human music. I like it.
And just a nice element to not just carry on those big open chords. Nice element to just mix it up a little bit in the verse. And what I've got going on here is the lead continues and gets filtered in the verse little section here. It's filtered. Now we go up an octave. I think that works really well. Just taming down the lead, but still have it in the background to just enhance the overall theme of the track. And then we have a build up into the second sort of big chorus, and I've just duplicated this reverse cymbal. Okay, and the drums, I believe we're doing a snare roll here. This isn't too hard to program. Okay, and that introduces the next massive chorus where again the filters come off the synths, and I think this is actually just a copy pasted version of the first drop that we went through. And yeah, that's pretty much the idea. On the master, we've got some usual suspects here. We've got the API. We have the Mixcentric again from Greg Wells. We have the tape. It's the Ampex. We have the EQ. I usually put the EQ before the Ampex, but in this one I didn't. Oh, and then also on the master, I've got a little bit of volume automation, especially down here in the intro, and that is so that when the chorus and the big theme comes in, it just really punches. And then just doing a little bit of volume automation down again in the verse to give it that dynamic range, so it's not too just at one volume the entire time. So this is with the mastering off. I'm going to add each plug-in. I'm going to add each plug-in on as we go along, so you can get an idea of what it sounds like. Let's play the main theme here. So it's just a massive lift and really makes it sound like a record. On the API, a couple of settings here: 10 millisecond attack ratio for fastest release, and about 3 decibels of gain reduction. Let's have a look. Okay, so just catching the snare, the kick and snare transients. On the Greg Wells, tiny bit of intensity. I just use this Ampex tape on its default, load it up, leave it alone, sounds great. And then the Pultec, just some light shaping. So 1 dB at 30 hertz and maybe 0.8 dBs at 10. Again, just to give it a little bit of a shape. And that's pretty much it for this production. I hope there's something that you guys can get out of it. Again, it's, for me, music is all about, trying to get into it quickly and getting a sound, getting into the writing so we can finish more music. And then at the end, we can go back and do all those tiny little edits and get really technical and nerdy with it. No problem with that. That's the stuff I love as well. But I thought this was just a nice video to demonstrate how, with just a few basic components, we can go a long way with it. So please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you again soon on the next one. Cheers.